Welcome to the annual Disability Film Challenge Participant Workshop event. This is the first year we're doing a workshop event, and we are going to get right into it. First of all, I'm David Zimmerman, and I am wearing a brand new, beautiful light blue shirt from Kohl's that my mom bought me through the mail. She likes to shop online. And I also want to thank NOVICKI and Easterseals for doing this amazing challenge. I mean, so much has been done by Easterseals, and they continue to just blow my mind with the wonderfulness that they are. And the wonderfulness that he is right here, the man, the hour. And before we start anything here, I want to bring on the interpreter. We have two today, which right here we have ANGELLE Robertson, and she is one of the interpreters today. Thank you, ANGELLE. We also have Hope Simon, who you will be seeing very soon as well through the event. So right now, without further ado, the man of the hour, Mr. Nick NOVICKI.
Hello. Thank you so much, David, and everyone at Performing Arts Studio West. As you mentioned, this is day 2 of the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge meetup event and workshops. And so yesterday, for those of you that were here, it was all about the film challenge. We answered a lot of questions about the film challenge. We showed the winning films. You got to hear from filmmakers about their experience. We had so many questions that we're actually going to record answers to those questions, and so we'll be sharing those. Today is all about learning more on how to get ready for this year's Easterseals Disability Film Challenge and beyond. We are very excited. This is the 10th annual Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. 10 years ago, I said to myself, why aren't more people with disabilities creating their own content? And I created the Disability Film Challenge. It grew year after year. And as David mentioned, you know, Easterseals truly helped bring this to the next level when I partnered with them in 2017. To date, we've had 500 films, and I really feel like this year is going to be another record-breaking year. But today is all about learning more of those elements from professional directors, producers, camera, lighting, editing. We have people from Ramped here that are going to talk about music and working with composers. So if you have questions, you know, make sure to ask those in the chat. And David Zimmerman will help bring you in or answer those with our moderator, who I am about to introduce. Now, this moderator for today, she is truly an amazing talent. She won Best Actor in the 2016 Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. She was nominated for Best Director. She teaches at Performing Arts Studio West. She's a phenomenal actress with so many credits, including SWAT, all this theater, and she's just truly such an amazing person. And I'm honored that she's going to be guiding the discussions and also helping you get those questions answered. So without further ado, please welcome Diana Elizabeth Jordan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Nick. You know, I love you and think you're amazing. I am Diana Elizabeth Jordan, for those of you who may not know me. Hello, PASW. I love you guys. I'm a Black woman. I'm wearing a rust colored sweater, and my Black background is blurry, so you do not see how messy my apartment is. I am really thrilled to be doing this workshop because the film challenge is such an amazing opportunity for experienced and beginning filmmakers. But the reason they call it a challenge is because it is a challenge. You have a finite time to create a film. So what we get to do today is learn from some of the best. learn from people who've done this before. They're each going to be sharing their expertise. I'm going to bring them on one at a time. They'll do a presentation, we'll ask them Q&A, but this is a great opportunity to learn. I believe we're saving the recording. So again, take it in, and then hopefully you can, we can get copies of the recording so you can really listen and not worry so much about taking notes, but the recording will be available for you to see again. So that's what I recommend, to really listen, to really take it in, take in their wisdom, because not only are they talented people, but talented out of their great people, because I know a lot of them, and I know they're wonderful people. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up our first artist and educator, and that is someone who I've had the pleasure of calling a friend. I'm working with. He's an incredible director and great guy. So I'd like to welcome to this workshop, producer director Carl HANSEN.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So Carl, if you can do a brief visual description, and then I always like to say, if you're in an elevator and you have to describe in like your elevator pitch who you are and what you do, what would you say?
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you so much. It's always great to see you. And Nick and David, thank you guys so much for having me. So a quick description. So I'm a Caucasian man. I'm wearing a white baseball cap that has my team name, Cultural Detritus, with our logo. I'm wearing dark blue glasses, and I have a gray beard, and I'm wearing a sort of plaid reddish shirt. So in terms of my elevator pitch, I am a producer and director. I'm a passionate filmmaker. I've been competing in the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge since 2018. I am also, as my work, my day job is I'm the head of production for Fox Sports original programming. So, you know, in my day job, I'm overseeing production for Fox Sports Films, which is our documentary unit, and our daily FS1 studio shows. But really my heart is filmmaking, and I love the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. So I feel like I'm just going to launch into sort of my bit here, and I'm also open to questions. I don't have a slideshow presentation. What I can show you guys, just sort of a little bit about the team. I can show you this website here that I put together for my team. So I've really leaned all in, and you can kind of see the number of films that we've made, the laurels that we've gotten at other film festivals. But you know, we also compete in the 48-hour film challenge as well, which kind of got our feet wet to get into doing the disability film challenge. But I'm really here to help you guys, right? I'm here for any questions. If you have anything, please raise your hand. I already see some of those hands. And I'll just tell you, you know, I've been making timed films since 2005. It is a unique art form, and it is an awesome way to get your voice heard. It gives you the opportunity to make a film in a very short amount of time that then can go not just through this particular competition, but say even tonight, for example, IO, which was our 2019 entry in the Disability Film Challenge, is screening at Hollywood and Highland, along with another film challenge film as part of the Holly Shorts monthly shorts competition. So it really is a phenomenal opportunity to really help get your voice heard, get your films out there, and get visibility, right? That's I think primarily the biggest thing here. So I'll give you guys a sort of a 30,000-foot view of what I do as a team leader, and then I will take some of your guys' questions. So, you know, one of the first things that I do when I hear when the date is happening for the film challenge. So this year it's March 28th to April 2nd. is I start putting my team together. I start calling people, I start texting people, and I really start to make sure that I have all the people in place that I need in order to make the best possible film without knowing really many of the requirements, right? We know it's going to be a romance genre this year because that's been announced, but we don't know any of the other requirements. So we don't start writing until that Tuesday, right? The 28th is a Tuesday this year, excuse me. And I make sure that, you know, the people that I have that if I'm not just a writer myself, I mean, I do enjoy writing as well, but I want to make sure that there's representation in the writer's room as well. So making sure that people have a voice and that they can be heard during that initial writing session when we know all the requirements. And then from there, we'll write until the script is done. Typically for this particular challenge, we'll write until Friday and just make sure the script is where it needs to be. It's a good opportunity to kind of rework things, take notes, take other people's advice and make the best possible script that we possibly can, because typically what we end up doing is we shoot on the Saturday of the weekend. Now, for a lot of you, that may be a very tight turnaround, which I totally understand. But because of my day job and because a lot of people on my team are working professionals as well and you know, either have jobs or can't necessarily do it other than on the weekend, we make sure that we set the day on a day that most everybody can join. So for that, it would be Saturday for this year for us. We have a location lined up already. This is probably the most amount of producing I've done in advance personally, because oftentimes I don't have as much lead time to put everything together. However, I've really started to try and get ahead of it this year so that I have all the elements in place that I need. Now, something to note and something that I would really recommend for all of you is stay open-minded to the process, because things can change and things do change. So don't, you know, I was telling a story earlier this morning to a group of interns at my job about how when I made Checkmate in 2018, that was our disability film challenge entry. We had the script, we were shooting on the day, and we ran out of daylight. And the scene that was supposed to happen at the end was supposed to be in broad daylight, and it was supposed to match everything else. And by the time we were filming that scene, it didn't match anything. And I didn't know what to do. We had written the script a certain way, we had shot it this way, and now had this problem where the footage didn't match. But I suddenly, as I was driving home that night, I saw an opportunity that we could add a title card and it would change it and it would make it it would make a better film. And so when I thought of that, I called the editor and I said, I think this is how we solve this problem that came up. And we ended up winning best film in the competition that year. So so just be open to the creative challenges. It is an opportunity to figure things out. And the way that I look at this particular competition and film competitions in general, actually, is low stakes, high reward. Because if you look at the prizes for this particular competition, they're amazing prizes, amazing access to industry professionals that get you, in the rooms with people. And if you're not trying something new, and if you're not experimenting and ultimately having fun, why not just make a short film, in a longer period of time? Why try and do it in a very condensed time frame? But this is an opportunity to learn, to grow your craft. And I can honestly say, without equivocation, it has definitely made me a better director. So it's sort of, I call it going to the filmmaker gym, learning kind of as you do it, working with other people, the collaborative nature of it all, right? You get to work with other really amazing people like Diana Elizabeth Jordan, who has been on my team a few times. And I know there's some other people in this room that have been, like Scott Matthew, who's on my team this year, Shannon Derricks, who's been on my team since 2018, and really like phenomenal, talented people that you get to collaborate with and be a part of the process. So anyway, so that's a little bit about that. I'm seeing some hands here. So Christina, you're first on my screen here if you want to unmute.
Right here.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have a question?
Hey, sorry about that, guys. I had a big technical glitch. I'm back.
Oh, awesome. Welcome back.
Thank you. Everything just went black on my screen. David, can you, so cool. Christina, honey, did you have a question?
Oh yes.
Okay,
I'm thinking about a difference in making the brothers so nice and so talented and so I want to do family art and so I like it.
all right. Thank you, Christina. Thank you
you.
for sharing. How are you? All right, guys. Sorry, my computer completely went black, and it took me about 10 minutes to figure out what was going on. So, Carl, are you continuing to have the question? Would you like me to pick someone, or how would you like to do that?
Yeah, sure. If you want to pick people, that's great. And I just want to encourage Christina, to make that film with your friends and show your talent. Truly, this is an awesome competition to do that, and it's a great opportunity to work with friends and have fun making something. It's one of truly the best things about the whole challenge. So, but yeah, Diana, if you wanna call on the next person, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, my friend. How are you? Why don't you come and ask your question, please? And Chris, can you unmute Anna, please? Are you unmuted?
Wait. I don't know. I'm not at.
Hey, Anna.
Hey, hello from the West Coast to the West Coast. So Carl, we need a director. We know we need a writer. We know we need great actors. Can you talk a little bit about the other crews, so like the technical side of things? Like, who do you use? Like, what roles in a production that would be helpful for everyone to think about? Sure.
Yeah. I obviously you named the writer, director, producer. Those are huge. But what I also like to do is I like to have a cinematographer, somebody who knows how to really work the camera and make it look the absolute best. But here's the thing, cell phones, if you have a smartphone, they shoot in 4K now. iPhones shoot in 4K. I think Pixels shoot in 8K. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. You don't need that level of shooting on it. However, stuff looks pretty good, right? So if you can't find an actual cinematographer, don't stress about it. Don't worry about that particular aspect of it. I just find it helpful to have somebody who's knowledgeable with the technology piece and also can focus on the visuals. Because if I'm producing and directing, I'm kind of focused on the story, and then I'll let them kind of present different options visually. And this year, actually, Danny J. Gomez, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's actually directing on our team. So I'm focusing on the producing aspect so I can kind of give him the tools that he needs to direct. But other than that, a sound person is really, I think, vital. I think that's a really big piece that a lot of people oftentimes forget about, and sound is really one of the most important pieces along with the cinematography. But again, you could shoot on a phone, but have somebody focusing on the sound. Make sure you have clean audio when you get into post-production, because if you don't, that sort of makes it doesn't sound great, and it's amazing how sort of psychological good sound can be. So those are sort of like those two vital positions, and then I would rely on them, or like the cinematographer, for example. or the director of photography to tell me what they need, right? They may need some additional hands to help put up lights if they have some lights that they want to work with. There may be art department that you'd want, somebody who's really good at set dressing, right? Somebody who understands wardrobe and can help do that stuff. Because the other thing too to remember is with the condensed time frame, and you may not have a finished script until you're showing up on set, right? It's like you wait right until the last second. You then need somebody like run to the thrift store to go get a shawl or something, right? To get something if you're not just utilizing whatever you have. So we've oftentimes really brought on a team of people that do this, hair makeup people, right? To make sure everyone's hair and makeup look good. And again, these people are focused on that particular aspect. But then also that's on the production side. And I always have like a production assistant or another sort of secondary production type person, an associate producer that can like go and get lunch, right? Or go and make sure people have a coffee to drink if people are getting tired and need a little pick-me-up. Just like another additional hand, and you don't need all of these people. These are just sort of people that we've utilized in the past and been able to collaborate with. But then also remember on the editorial side, on the edit side, when you're in post-production, is obviously an editor, right? You need somebody who's taking all the footage and cutting it together. We often use composers or songwriters that will incorporate a score into the finished film and an end credit song at the very least. We have a sound designer sometimes come in and make sure the sound sounds good, have a mixer type person as well. That sound designer often is the mixer, make sure all the levels are appropriate, because ultimately once you finish your film, and ideally it's sort of a fully realized, fully formed film that sounds good and that was edited well and looks beautiful, and acting, I even talk about the actors, but obviously having great actors as well on the set, it all comes together in this finished product that hopefully people wouldn't know was made in a very short time frame, right? Now technology's gotten to that point. So it's like utilizing all of those people who know what they're doing when it comes to that, or people who want to learn how to do that. It's a really great learning opportunity. And then you get that finished product at the end, and that finished film that then goes off and becomes, say, a part of like the awareness campaign, right? You want people to vote for your film as in this competition. So those are the kinds of people that we employ, on our team to make it the best possible, production.
All right, guys, I thank you so much, Cole. I'm going to take one more question because I do want to be conscious of kind of sticking to our timeline. So we'll take a question from John, and then, guys, if you can maybe put some questions in the chat. But I do want to move on to Scott after John, just so we can again keep it within our timeline for a bit, and hopefully we can do some more Q&A at the end. Well, hello, Dawn.
Hey, Diana, how you doing? It's great to see you, and it's great to see Carl and everybody on the screen today. I have actual questions about the challenge, and I don't know if they can reveal that at this point, but I figured it was worth asking. My team and I have been talking about different concepts, and after the meeting yesterday, we're going to go back to the drawing board, but we haven't written anything per the rules. But my question is, I have several, can you have a film that is totally black and white, or possibly black and white and color, because we're trying to secure up locations, and we have a couple different ideas in mind, but we want to make sure that if there are any rules against black and white or mixing color and black and white.
That might be more of a Nick question.
Yeah, I'm here, and you can do a black and white. We've had noir films. It's completely up to you. You could do animation, whatever you want within the genre. And there was also a question I saw up above about the props, and how are there examples of past props. If you go to, and I'll put it in the chat, but disabilityfilmchallenge.com, hit the challenge tab, and the past challenges. You'll be able to see all the past winning films and each individual assignment, including last year's and all the other ones. So you'll be able to have a frame of reference for those different assignments, including props and locations to choose from.
Okay, and then also,
I don't want to be disrespectful, but we really do need to
Okay.
move on. So if we could put your questions in the chat.
I already did. Have a good time
okay.
at Holly Shorts tonight, Carl. It's a wonderful experience. I was there last month with David, Honey Bunny, and our film, Super Inappropriate. Thanks to Nick. It's a wonderful team. It's a wonderful group of people, and I hope you enjoy the experience.
Thank you very much, and great to see you, Don.
Nice to see you
Yeah.
as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, good. Thank you so much, and guys, and I do want to move on. So thank you, Carl. You are amazing. And one of the great things about this is you get to expand your community of friends, and Carl, I do consider you a friend. And so thank you so much.
Same. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, and I'll be here till 12:30, guys. You feel free to ask me in chat stuff. Otherwise, reach out to me separately through my website. Great to see everybody. Thanks for
Well,
having me.
all right. I would like to bring up Scott Klum. Please, Scott. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So, Scott, what would be, again, your elevator pitch if you were to take 30 seconds and say what you do? How would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as a multi-award winning filmmaker. I'm a director, cinematographer, and editor. And fortunately for me, my career is also my passion in life. So I just love every moment of it.
Amazing. So, Scott, you're going to focus mainly on editing. So I'm going to let you take it away because I think you have a presentation for us. And take it away, Scott.
Thank you. So yeah, I do a lot of things in film, but my specialty for the most part is editing. And as an autistic filmmaker, I think part of what I love so much about editing, which so many people hate about editing, is just how detail oriented it is and how much time it takes. But it's just very meditative to me to work on it. And so I put together some things that might help whoever's going to be editing this project for the Disability Film Challenge or elsewhere, just some pointers to help you along the way and make your project the best it possibly can. And I'll start with, let's see, there's many ways to edit a film. There's not just one right way. A few examples are, you can put all the footage together in what they call a string out, which is like a rough cut, and then edit and keep on passing through over time. And each time you cut out footage and shorten it, and eventually you get to a point that it's the perfect cut to you. It's what you like. Another way to edit things is to find the most emotional performance or the most strong emotional performance, and then edit around that. So you may take what is the best take from your actor or actress, and then start putting footage around that to develop the scene you want. Another way to do it, which is often easiest with the Disability Film Challenge, is just to edit a short scene and then move to the next. Just kind of, since it's a short film, sometimes it's easier to edit in order. And another way to do it, which kind of relates to cinematography later, is building up pacing and rhythm. If you're using different camera angles and stuff, you may start with a wide shot, then go to a medium shot, then go to a close-up, then back to a medium shot and a wide shot. So it just kind of like builds just a sense of rhythm in the scene. When it comes to the Disability Film Challenge, to save time, if you are using other microphones that aren't attached to the camera, it can be hard to sync up audio sometimes. And you do not need a camera slate with the scene number and everything. Sometimes you can just simply clap in, and that little clap between the camera and the microphone will show up in the audio, and you can sync up the audio to your camera within seconds. And then it may seem tedious, but it actually saves time in the long run, is organize the footage you get from the film shoot prior to editing. If you have it organized, it's going to actually speed up the process of editing than trying to find the specific take or specific shot you want. And then a suggestion I have, something that for me as an editor, when it comes to the Disability Film Challenge, I try to think about what is going to make my film stand out from the others? Like, what is going to make mine different? Because if you're going to have, say, 100 films and you want to be noticed by the judges, you have to think, what's going to make yours different from everyone else's? And how am I going to leave my mark as an editor? Just, for me, 5 minutes seems like a very short time, but I like incorporating little compilations or montages into the video to show like an action sequence. I like having a variety of scenes to edit to. Instead of sort of like a Saturday Night Live skit staying stuck in one room, I prefer to be on teams where there's a variety of movie scenes throughout the film and the story keeps going and keeps the audience captivated. And it also gives me more options as an editor with how I might edit the film. Now, when it comes to editing the first 30 seconds to a minute of a film, you want to open the film with impact. This means you may have a minute to captivate the audience that's watching it. If you don't catch the audience's attention in that first minute, you may lose their interest and they may either not really be into your film the whole time, or they may move on to the next. So it's very important to have something that's like just going to really amaze someone or just interest them from the beginning so they want more. Let's see. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So editor kind of put together everything, and it really is how tell the story. So what do you appreciate that directors do that helps you as an editor in terms of their camera shots? So what do you look what director, what can we do as a director? For a director, what do you love that we give you, that gives you what you need to edit the film? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. When it's come to working with a director or even the cinematographer, just all that, I like it when we're all working together as one, because the editor may have a certain vision with how he needs to edit the film. The director may have the idea of the story he wants to tell, and then the cinematographer can help capture the footage you need. Just, I think when working together, things go a lot more seamlessly, because as Carl said, he's on a very big time crunch with filming on Saturday to get things done, since that's when he can get it done. And then the editor then has 36 hours to edit the film and have everything done. So there's no time to go back and film anything. So if you're all on the same page before then and having little meetings or just conversations. I think the most important thing is communication.
Great, cool. Why don't we go to some Q&A? I think Mr. Scott Matthew there. Hello, Scott. How are you?
Hello there.
Hey
Good.
there.
Hey, Scott.
Hey
Yeah,
there.
I'm also an autistic person, and I'm also an editor myself.
Very cool.
Yeah. So my question is, like, I've always had this philosophy of saying, like, I always say, no matter how good of an actor, director, producer, or writer you are, I feel it's the editor that really makes the film. Do you agree with that? And also, and also, like, a second part of my question is that I've also noticed is that people usually rely on using pluralize to sync sound, but I've noticed that it's off by that it's off by a frame or two. So do you use pluralize, or do you do what I do? I do it manually by waves.
I do it.
It's quicker and easier.
So I end up doing it manually by waves. Like I try to.
That's good.
I
Same here.
sync it up as close as I can with clap, but then I adjust it by the waves as much as I need.
Yeah,
And
me
then
too.
I do believe it's the editor that ends up like really piecing the story together at the end, because sometimes with something like the Disability Film Challenge, you may have this great story, but now your film's got, the film is at 5.5 minutes or 5 minutes 45 seconds. So now the editor has to take that story and cut it down to 5 minutes or shorter. And you have to use your creativity to figure out how to get the story across. And that's part of what I like, is just being able to use my imagination and really create the final product. One thing I do suggest that people get to allow you to shorten those scenes, if you have too much, if your film's too long, I suggest getting cutaways and inserts, because then if you have an actor interacting for a long time, if you're having to cut up his dialogue to shorten the film, you're now going to have jump cuts, which will basically move the actor around the screen, and that will create kind of a jarring effect to the viewer. But if you have B-roll or cutaways and inserts, you can put shots from around the room or of the character over those cuts.
I do the exact same thing. Yeah, I do the exact same thing, because I do cutaways to hide the jump cuts plenty of times. Actually, because that has happened to me plenty of times, because I've actually had to cut certain scenes to shorten the runtime. However, how I do it is like I make sure like is the line saying something, or is it just filler? So it's good.
Right.
It's a good thing to cut the filler first.
Exactly. And it's good to cut the filler. And sometimes they may say like and but, and you can cut those things out too. And that if you cut a bunch of those out, that can shorten the film by another 5 or 10 seconds. So every little bit counts.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I thank you, Scott. I do want to be conscious again of time. These are really amazing questions, you guys. Thank you so much. I believe I saw Sivan. Is that how you say it? Any questions, Sivan? Did I see? All right, hang on. Just a minute, Julian. Did I see Sivan?
Hi, I have a question. How did you get into the Easterseals challenge?
Let's see. I heard, so Easterseals, actually, they were one of my job coaches years ago for my disability. They got me connected with stuff, and my job coach recommended the Disability Film Challenge to me probably in 2018, and I I didn't think anything of it then. And then in 2020, it was during the pandemic, and I thought, you know what? I'll give the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge a try. Like, it'll give me something to do while I'm locked up at home and during the pandemic. And before I knew it, I was a finalist, and then I won Best Editor. And my life changed because of it. The Disability Film Challenge brings on a great community of people, huge connections. Nick Novicki is just an amazing human being and is there for you. I mean, Nick's got me a lot of potential opportunities as an editor this year, and without the Disability Film Challenge, I don't think I would be where I'm at in my film career right now. And yeah, I mean, I'm just very thankful and grateful for it.
Thank you, Saban. Great question. We have a few more. Let's go to Crichton Wall. Crichton, do you have a question?
Hi, my name is Clayton Wall. I'm new at this film challenge. I got inspired by a friend named Jamie Brewer and Jared Kozak. I heard of this with my friends, and I'm not a professional actor. I take acting classes and stuff like that. I was wondering if I could make a film based on my life, like a film like me and my friends.
If you can, there's no reason why you can't make a film about your friends, but it has to relate to the theme of romance this year. So if you can find a way to tell a love story or something, then yes, you can.
Well, all right, let's bring on Julian Kowalski. Julian, what is your question?
Oh, my question. Okay,
Yes.
so does it have to be like a specific like area to like film the video? And like, do we say whatever, or do you guys like send a script for us to like say?
You create your own story from scratch, and you can shoot at basically any location. You can shoot in your backyard, you can shoot in your living room. If you have permission to shoot at another location and have that set up, you can film there. There's just really use your imagination and go with it, and have fun.
And Diana, this is Diana, PASW students, clients. I will go over stuff again Monday in class, and in the next couple of weeks doing our classes. So those of you that attend PASW, I will do some review and things like that. Okay. Let me see. We have a little bit more time for tomorrow. Livermore. Livermore?
Yeah, we can keep going.
Livermore, what is your question?
Up down a little bit. Up down. Have a seat, buddy. Hi, my name is Andrew from the Livermore Film Media. And here's my question. Do you have any motivation, advice for being a director for Easterseals?
Let's see. I'll let Carl help jump in with this one.
Hey,
Sure. Do you want me to answer, Diana, or?
yeah, please go ahead, Carl. Please.
Yeah, just super quick. The best thing I can tell you to do is do it. Because here's the thing, you may not know exactly what you're doing yet, and the only way to get better is by actually doing it. And when I was referring before about kind of going to the filmmaker gym, if you want to kind of lead a production and have it be sort of your direction, right? The only way that you're going to really get experience doing that is by actually doing that. You can also shadow other filmmakers, right? That may also be helpful to you. So you're not immediately being sort of like thrown into the deep end where you don't know exactly what's happening. But like Danny, for example, on my team, shadowed me on a couple of projects. And then last year, he wanted to do one on his own and direct on his own. And so, you know, I was there to support him, but I kind of let him take the lead in that department. So I would say, you know, if you want to get a team together yourself and you want to direct, then, you know, that's a great opportunity to learn that piece. Or if you want to get on another team and are looking to shadow somebody, that's also another great way to learn.
Thanks.
Thank you, Carl. I want to bring up Lori Raisin. Is that how you say that, Lori? Hi, Lori. How are you? Is Lori?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm fine, thanks. I have a couple questions. Can the theme is romance, but can it be romantic comedy?
That's a neat question, but I would imagine so, but that's
Yes.
the neat question.
Okay. And my other question is, if you get the script written, but you can't get a team together, what do you do?
I would say that, it's really challenging to do without a team, but I would just work really hard to feel, you can do it on your iPhone, I'll let Scott do, but yeah, Scott, what do you think?
About, say it again.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, if you can write the script, but you're having difficulty getting a team together, like the whole thing has to be done in a matter of like less than a week.
Yeah.
So what do you do? You've done the writing, but if you can't,
I mean, people have put together the simplest films before, so it's like sometimes simplicity is good. Like you can use an iPhone and put it on a tripod or a selfie stick and click record and then do some acting in the room. Or I mean, there's many ways.
I would just say write to your parameters, like that's the biggest thing that Easterseals taught me kind of going through this is think about what you have available to you, what you could possibly have available to you. And then, write to that instead of trying to, it's great to do like what we call a vomit draft where you just write whatever you want. But, eventually you're going to go back and you're going to edit that. You're going to do a second draft maybe. And that's when I think we get to the perspective of, oh, I can do this, I can't do this, right? So yeah, I would just recommend like whatever you end up with, maybe try to write to that and write to those strengths.
And Lori, I would recommend right now, you can put your information in the chat. Where are you located, Lori?
In Bakersfield.
Okay, so maybe put your information in the chat, start talking to your friends and saying, hey, I want to do this film, could you film me? So, I mean, I think there are many ways to start now building a team because put your information in the chat. If you are in Bakersfield, start talking to people there in your community that might be willing to support you.
And also, in Bakersfield is Joey Travolta's Inclusion Films.
Oh, yeah.
So you might want to check with Inclusion Films. They have a plethora of artists, creative artists there. So you might want to call them up and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Can we get a team together? Because they have a bunch of students and professionals.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say a couple more things to editing. One way I've used editing before is editing to the music. Is you can hear the bass of the songs or the drum beats, whatever it may be, that can help direct your cuts, because when your eyes match up with your ears, when sight and sound go together, the edits go that much more seamlessly and you don't even most of the time you wouldn't notice it because it goes together so well. And the last thing I just want to say is, even though you're on a time crunch to get things done for the Disability Film Challenge, make sure you take breaks. Like when you take a 10 or 20-minute break, you can come back into editing with a fresh perspective you didn't have before, or a new idea you didn't think of 20 minutes ago. When you're getting exhausted, you just can't think as well. And even a 20 or 30-minute break will just help speed up the process later, because you're getting ideas that you didn't have before.
Scott, I want to thank you so much. I'm going to ask you one more thing. What would be your word of wisdom? What was that, you know, that taking a break? What is your another word of wisdom you would like to share with people?
Another word of wisdom. I think for me, when I've been getting stressed, when I've been getting overwhelmed, trying to reach a deadline that quickly, I try to remind myself the goal is to make the best film I can do. It's not just to win, it's to make the best film I can. And also, first and foremost, have fun doing it. This is supposed to be a fun challenge. Make yourself a better filmmaker, connect with other disabled people in the film community. And yeah, I mean, enjoy it. Don't get too overwhelmed or stressed.
Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us today. And Scott, will you be sticking around, or do you need to go?
I'll be sticking around, so you can ask me questions in the chat. And I'm also typing in my website, so you can go there to see some of my work or reach out to me through email.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scott, for being here. We so appreciate you sharing your talent and your heart with us. So next I'm going to bring up Cameron S. Mitchell, who is a cinematographer. Hello, Cameron.
Hi, Diana. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. So thank you. Give your 30, 40-second elevator pitch of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I get to that, because it's, you know, in my presentation, first of all, I am a white man with a dark blue shirt with the IATSE logo on it and short brown hair. I am a disabled filmmaker, pretty invisibly disabled. I have neurodivergence, ADHD, among other things, as well as a spinal cord injury. And so really excited to be here today. This is such an incredible event. I think, you know, I just grow to appreciate it more and more every year. I did my first film in 2017. And wow, I had no idea what kind of track that was going to put me on. Next thing I knew, you know, I didn't win. I've never actually won the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, which I tout proudly because, you know, Nick told me at the time, and I didn't believe him, you don't have to win. And because there's a world outside of this challenge. There's a whole festival circuit. And I think, in my opinion, the most beautiful thing about this challenge is that it gives you the excuse to go out and make something. And it also makes it accessible, right? Because of the rules of the challenge requiring everyone to kind of get in this together. And so, you know, because I think the SAG actors are on deferred pay. If that, so there's a special agreement with SAG, which nobody gets, you know, and on top of that, you know, everyone's kind of doing it for the love of it. So your team is really your family, right? And so those are a couple of things I wanted to highlight. I think it's also, I just want to acknowledge, this is the only place where this many films involving disabled people is going to happen anywhere this year. You know, I'm also a programmer and juror now for Slam Dance Unstoppable. That's another film program you might have heard of, or if you haven't, you should have on your radar, because they program films with disabled cast and crew Doesn't necessarily have to be about disability, although we like films about disability. So I just want to throw that out there because there's not a lot of spaces for disabled people to get to, really flex their creative muscles like there are here in the Easterseals and in Slam Dance, among other places. And so if you're interested in getting more connected in these communities, feel free to contact me after this. I'm going to put my website in the chat here so that you guys have access to that, as well as my Instagram. So feel free to, contact me through social media. I also believe my contact info is on my website. So yeah, I am a local 600 cinematographer. That means I am a union cinematographer. I've been doing this for quite some time. Easterseals really helped me get my career started as a director, actually, and also helped further it as a DP, a director of photography, because, part of it was I was looking at my, reel and I was like, I want to make more stuff about disability, right? So it was a great excuse to do that. And some of the productions I was working on weren't focusing on that. So yeah, can't speak highly enough about the role that Easterseals plays in representation in the industry. You really get a chance to make something that's not out there, and there's value to that. Their festivals want these films about disability now. There is now a growing understanding of the need for representation. But we're here to talk about cinematography, right? So I actually have a presentation for you guys. I'm gonna do screen share here. Hopefully this works. And let's see, I wanna go here. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is my presentation, disability and cinematography. It's going to be a bit technical, but also creative. I think first and foremost creative, because when we think about cinematography, we really should be thinking about problem solving and creative problem solving specifically. And I think actually disability and cinematography go hand in hand when you approach a set. And that's something, disabled or not, I just want to put out there because, a lot of my union friends in 600, 52, I don't know if we realize sometimes some of the accessibility requirements that we're implementing naturally. On large union sets, for instance, you have camera trucks and grip and lighting trucks, and they'll rely on hand carts, which are, you push around the set. And so, ideally, to get those hand carts around, you want ramped access to things, right? You don't want stairs without elevators. And I think it's something that people don't get to talk about enough. So I really just wanted to highlight that comparison first and foremost, because thinking about disability early on in your cinematography can really actually amplify the creativity of your production and lead to a more inclusive production overall. And I chose the still for this is a still from Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I just think that this film is a great example of neurodivergence. And the Daniels brothers did a great job at portraying this character who they specifically wanted to have undiagnosed ADHD, which I think is really important. Disability is in the water we swim in, whether we realize it or not. And it doesn't have to be explicitly communicated all the time, right? You do this kind of in the background in your productions by casting disabled actors, by writing about, real disability experiences. And sometimes your character can just do a lot of the legwork for that. They just by existing, by having the intention to express that character is enough. I wanted to mention this too, because when I started out, I thought I had to address disability directly, and it's a great thing to do. And you can and should absolutely do that. But I also want people to feel the creative freedom to kind of just make a film about whatever. The nature of this challenge is you're inherently going to be representative of disabled people. So in a way that's happening already. All right, so let's go to the first slide here. So a little bit about me. You know, I'm a 2-time Film Challenge participant. I had the co-op in 2018, and then I had Regenesis in 2019. Like I mentioned, I'm a programmer and juror for Slam Dance Unstoppable. I've also been to Slam Dance twice with the co-op, my first Easterseals film. So man, I didn't win, but what a win to get to go to Park City. You know, which is why I was saying, like, don't worry if you don't win, basically. And then with Elsa, which is a doc short I directed for PBS American Masters recently. I'm a Respectability Lab alumni, which if you haven't heard of a Respectability, I highly recommend checking them out. You know, they're actually, I think their application process is open right now, and it's specifically for disabled filmmakers and writers. So yeah, they're just a great organization. I'm also a member of Forward Doc, which is directly responsible for my opportunity to make Elsa, which we're going to look at in a moment. And Dina Al Mohammed, Amanda Upson, Jim Lebrecht, they're all co-founders of that organization, as well as Troy Kotsur, who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Coda and won this past year. And yeah, as I mentioned, I'm a member of Local 600. I've shot shows for Netflix, Hulu, Marvel. So yeah, please feel free to ask all the technical questions, put them in the chat. I'll try to scroll through. And if we don't get to them, I will make sure to answer them on my own time through email. And if you want to look up some of my work, you can just search my name on IMDb or YouTube. It's Cameron S. Mitchell. Let's see. I want to hide. I think, okay, here we go. I don't know. I hope this bar up here isn't appearing in your view. Sorry if it is. But so yeah, so this is the co-op. This is the first film I made for Easterseals. And I wanted to use it as an example because man, there's so many crazy things that happened in making the co-op. For one, my location, which I secured in advance, was a diner. 2 days before the challenge, the diner dropped out. But it actually ended up being a blessing in disguise because we got this beautiful grocery store that you see in front of you. And, you know, that, among other things, is a hint. Location matters. Try to think about creative in different locations that are, you know, visually stunning and beautiful that you can film in, because it will go a long way towards making your film stand out and be visually different. So yeah, let's just real quick, we'll watch the trailer for the co-op here.
The camera, the sound isn't on. I don't know if
Oh, shoot. I think that's because I'm on my headphones. I don't know how to solve that right now. So here, let's just, and also
if you stop sharing, there's like a tick, there's a box of share sound. Do you know that in the Zoom window?
Oh, okay. Let me try to, let's see, advanced sharing options.
It should be right at the bottom of the share screen. When you hit share, it'll bring up the window you want to share. And then at the very bottom of that.
Oh, there we go. So will we still be
video.
able to hear my my audio as well with that?
You should be able to, yes.
Okay. All right, let's try this again.
This is a robbery! Nobody make any moves! Where's your daddy, little girl?
No, look, I'm 21.
That's all we have on us.
Du sind just because we're disabled. We're all from the same place.
Am I the only crazy one here?
Hopefully people were able to see that. How do we do there?
Yeah, looked and sounded good.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for the feedback. So, all right. So this was my first film for Easterseals. Let's break this down in terms of the cinematography and talk about what potential challenges you might incur on a location. Because when you're shooting, right, you don't have a ton of time. The first thing you want to do is you want to walk on your location and kind of assess. I recommend turning off all the lights as much as you're able to, just so you can turn them on one by one and get an understanding of what light you're kind of having to control, and also what ambient light you might not be able to control. So you'll notice that this was at night. One of the ways that as a cinematographer, I control light on my Easterseals shoots is I choose to shoot at night because there's no change. These large windows would have been a nightmare if in terms of like having to shoot multiple shots in front of them during the day. If you had any kind of cloud cover, any kind of changing weather, that would affect the light levels in the room, which has more of an effect than you might think on maintaining what we call lighting ratios, which are the ratios of your key light, which is your primary brightest light in the room, to your fill light, which is the supplementary light that complements that on the fill side. Let me just ask here, what are some other potential problems that you could see in this scenario? Put them in the chat, and I'll scroll back to those as you come up with them. And also, we're thinking about accessibility too, right? We're not just thinking about lighting, we're thinking about location and access, right? Because we might be working with disabled actors, cast and crew, directors, writers. So, on that note, I'll just point out here that the floors, the aisles, the fact that you have no stairs going into the location, right? That was actually a pro for this location and was a really happy accident, right? And you know what? It let us roll in all of our equipment. It let us roll in everything we needed. And we were able to move very quickly because of that. So yeah, let's see. So the lights, that's, I'll give you one more before I check back in the chat here while you're racking your brains about what could be a problem or a potential pro. These lights are all over the store, right? And we were actually very lucky. You'll notice that for the most part, they match, which is not typical when you're shooting on location, especially in a grocery store or a warehouse like Home Depot, any place that might favor these kind of fluorescent, what we call fluorescent overhead fixtures. Although now with LED tubes, it's become less of a problem, though some store managers might still mix fixtures. They might mix a tungsten unit with a daylight unit or a fluorescent unit. So we were, like I said, we were pretty lucky with these overheads, but even still, even though they all matched, I made an effort to still control them, especially when we were in the aisles, because, they kind of just, what we call as cinematographers, they puke light everywhere. You'll notice that light kind of comes out in all directions here. They're like these round bars. So not only do you have light coming down off the fixtures, you also have light shooting up into the ceiling, right? And so it's kind of just going everywhere. In this particular shot, we're not trying to control any of that because they're all in the frame, right? But once we get into close-ups, when you get the ability to put flags, maybe, or if you don't have flags, a jacket, some kind of what we call negative to control light, you can put it just outside of the frame of the camera, right? And that can help us have more intention and purpose in our lighting. Another thing, let me check the chat actually real quick. Let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing much here. I see Crystal asked if the LEDs are still green cool tone or is it fluorescent? So that can depend on your fixture. LEDs tend to be better, but if they're cheap LEDs, they might have a magenta shift actually. And sometimes you can correct for that with a gel. Other times, you know, you can do it in the color correction, which is actually a really important part about the film challenge is you might not get time to get a thorough professional color correction for your film. That's okay, as long as you shoot in a format that has what we call latitude. So something that doesn't have tons of contrast and saturation. You know, the standard is we like log generally, log film, which is why if you're you can actually still get log film profiles if you on your phone if you use an app called Filmic Pro. So that's great. And the reason that we're doing that is to give us more flexibility in post, because if you notice, if you're looking at your monitor, camera, phone, whatever, and it pops, it looks like it's colorful, and that's probably what it's recording, unless you're using what we call a LUT or a lookup table, which is you would have to load onto an external monitor. And you know, I highly recommend having a monitor that you can view, you know, a look on, for instance, because you want to be able to expose properly to adjust your lighting ratios. And so if you're looking at the log on set, it can be tough to determine small details like lighting ratios or even like stuff in the shot that you don't want. So you're hopefully, if you're shooting in log or you're shooting in raw, you're going to be able to have a way to preview that footage with a look on it. Another problem in this location was green tables. These were awful to adjust in the color room. And this is actually after a ton of work, this image you see here, to neutralize those greens, because basically the light just came in and it bounced off those tables and it made stuff green. And there was nothing that we could do about that other than cross our fingers and hope that, you know, the colorist could take some of that green out. Obviously, if we were in a close-up, I could put some negative, you know, some black, like a jacket or something on the counter to stop that return fill, that bouncing light off the table, so we didn't get that green. But in a wide shot like this, forget about it. You kind of just, and that's why you should also maybe involve your colorist early. You know, whoever's going to color this thing, have them on set and looking at this stuff and trying to look for potential gotchas, because we want to make beautiful images, right? That that have intention, that consider all of the problems of shooting on a location. And then, yeah, so the floors, we talked about that. This was a circle for nighttime, which, you know, again, if this was during the day, we would have to be relighting a lot for ratio changes, basically, as the sun moved. And yeah, and then also another thing was the brands and logos, right? If you want to prepare your film for commercial release and you're shooting in a location like a grocery store, congratulations, you've made your life very difficult, because you're going to want to turn all of those products around, facing backwards, basically. So that, because generally speaking, on the backs of products, the logos either aren't there or aren't as large. And so that's a quick solution to that problem and readies your work for commercial release, which it could very well get after going to Easterseals. Again, we're thinking about the places our film can go after this. And then, yeah, just to bring it all back, the accessibility of the location, it saved us in so many ways. It saved us time, it saved us money. It you know, led to more inclusion on the set. I really can't speak enough. I think inside and outside of Easterseals, we all need to start thinking about this, the locations that we're writing for and how they can be accessible. Because otherwise, how are you going to get someone in a wheelchair in your shot? You might be carrying them up the stairs, and that's dangerous. So really think about your locations, location. So some quick tips and tricks for succeeding at the film challenge. Talk to your subjects, actors, crew, and all disabled people on the team. Bring them into the creative and accessibility process. Plan a post pipeline. You want to have your editor involved. If that's you, great. Just I would recommend before the challenge, do a test edit, make a project file, and make some folders and organize, what you're going to have coming in, your footage, your sound, your VFX, any templates, any photos, anything you might have coming in. Make folders for all those things in your nonlinear editor of choice, because that's going to help you get this thing out faster, right? On the co-op, we were shipping footage to my editor mid-production. Day one, the editor got the first day of shooting, and they were already cutting the footage at the end of day one. And it was crazy because we shot overnight, right? So we all went home and went to sleep. That editor got to sleep through the night, which I'm sure they were very thankful for. But then they woke up. And so while we were shooting day two, the next night, I already had a rough cut kind of demoing like what we got. And that can also help tell you what you might need on the next day. And I call this the baby driver method, because very famously, Baby Driver would often do edits on set. They would have backpacks with hard drives, and they would like slam that thing into the computer, and they would do a test edit because they had these highly rhythmic musical edits, and they needed to know right then and there if that was going to work. Next, think about what your camera needs to capture the space as you intend. Run some tests. Again, a big part of cinematography is always be testing, A/B/T. You want to, before you start the challenge, take whatever camera and lens combo you plan to be shooting this on and just take it out for a spin. Try and shoot in some similar environments to the locations that you're expecting to film for the challenge. And this will help give you feedback about how much light you need, because if you shoot in a location and it's very dimly lit, or there's not a lot of available light, then you need to bring the big guns in. You need to bring the big lights in to make sure that you get exposure, and so that we're not seeing a lot of digital grain or noise in our films. So test. Think about the intention of camera movement and placement, right? Cinematography isn't just about making your film look good. What's really going to make your film stand out from the others is if you think about your subject, right? Because the camera is an observation device. Sometimes it's just in the room with all of our subjects, and it's kind of like, passively observing the scene. Other times we might be in the head of a certain subject, which is more of what handheld is traditionally used for, versus, a static tripod shot or a shot on a gimbal or something with moving camera. So yeah, really think about that, because I would say, actually people don't realize enough how disability has informed cinema through the years. Jean-Luc Godard used a wheelchair when he couldn't afford a dolly on one of his sets. So wheelchairs are actually natural camera movement devices. So you can literally sit somebody in a chair with a camera and, bam, you've got a dolly shot. And that's just like one of the ways. Also thinking about eye level, right? Because if you're in a wheelchair, maybe your eye level might be lower. And so if you're going to do a point of view shot or something from like a wheelchair user's perspective, you might want to think about the height of the camera, right? And where you're pointing it. And then, we'll talk about accessible camera and lighting. This is going a bit long, and I do want to get to questions. So I'm gonna speed through this a little bit. This is a 30-second trailer for Elsa. I'm just gonna show this real quick.
Every single piece of work I do is about forcing my way through the door. I am a deafblind speculative fiction writer, a memoirist, a fencer, a swing dancer, a hiker. deaf people don't just have a loss, there's also a gain to being deaf because you have that laser sharp focus. I got to fence, I got to be a knight. The perspectives of disabled people need to be seen.
So yeah, I didn't shoot this for Easterseals, but I did this recently, and guess what? It went to Slam Dance again. I must be doing something right. So I think, first of all, I show this to get you in the mindset that you could also do a documentary. You could do a documentary romance. There's so many ways that you can make that fit in. And there's a lot of creative doors that doing a documentary opens. So, first of all, your lighting requirements might be more natural. You don't have to, control the light as much. If you're a one-person crew, you can get around a lot easier if you've got just a camera on yourself mounted to your wheelchair or on your person. But also you'll see kind of the high production value here, right, of this documentary. And I'll tell you right now, the key to the lighting of this shot, if you're wondering, is a big key light. And what we mean by that is a light that isn't a smaller point source. It's shot through a frame of diffusion or silk, something that expands the light and diffuses it. And you ideally want that frame to be large, generally speaking, which is why I'm a big fan of aperture lights. If you guys haven't heard of aperture lights, look them up. They come with light domes, which get this really big kind of spread. And so this setup, the key light is just that aperture, and it's wrapping around her. So we don't even have a fill, a return, a bounce in this. It's just that big diffused key light. And then you'll notice in the background, we've got red uplighting on the walls, which, by the way, guess what, is an accessibility design, because Elsa, the subject, couldn't walk into a room that was too dark, or her eyes would literally kind of stop like an aperture in a camera. So we came up with a creative solution as well as an accessible one in doing this red uplighting, which I think, with the blue flare and the white lame, it really has a lot of contrast to it, and is another reason why you should be thinking about color theory, like when you're thinking about your cinematography. And I'm going to try not to get too technical here, but just do a quick search on color theory, because complementary colors can really tell stories about your characters. And so if we're thinking about motivations, right? For instance, if you look at Breaking Bad, every character in that show had an associated color. Bryan Cranston, his color was green because of greed, right? There in every character, Skylar, I think, was purple. So there's emotion in color theory, and different colors mean different things. So thinking about the palette of your film and what type of emotions you want to evoke can really help you approach the cinematography for your film. So yeah, even if you're not a cinematographer, I think anyone can think about that. It just has to be on your radar, right? And also your colorist can also help you. If you have a general mood for your film, they can actually add those colors into the shadows in the highlights to help carry that mood. And so another good reason to involve your colorist early, whoever's doing the color, or if you're doing it yourself, do some tests, take some of your test footage and try throwing a bit like a, cyan orange, into the shadows and the highlights. See how you can unify your image. Because that's a big part of film too, is having a consistent image. So yeah, I'm not going to get to all of these slides. I'm trying to be conscious of time. Diane, I know, is probably tapping her watch.
Yeah, we do have a bit of a want to cut out, and I do want to make sure we get to our music people, our last final panelists. However, guys, if you want to reach out to Cameron, let's see if we have a little bit of time at the end. for Q&A, but I would like to bring up because it's already our next panelist. And Cameron, thank you so much. But before we go, what would be your words of wisdom to everyone or anyone doing this challenge? What are your words of wisdom?
Oh, wow. Well, my words of wisdom would be that the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge is the greatest excuse you'll ever get to make a film. And you should just do it because it launched my career. It got me making things. I was looking for the excuse to make something, you know, like I needed the excuse. And Easterseals in that weekend, you know, it's like a deadline, right? I've got ADHD, so I need deadlines. And in the props, the theme, it gave me things to focus on and a box to work in and also break out of. So yeah, don't get too fixated on the requirements. I think the year that the co-op came out, the theme was buddy comedy. And, you know, there's not really like, the characters joke and there's comedy and satire, right? But I think, you know, the key thing is your idea. What is the idea that you want to express? And what are maybe 5 line items that you can do to amplify and augment that idea, whether it's color theory, whether, you know, it's your camera choice, your location choice, you know, think about all of those things because you're not going to get to do all of them, you know, but it's good to have a plan A so you can follow on the plan B and the plan C, because you're going to also throw things out the window as you shoot in this tight time frame.
Thank you so much, Cameron. What beautiful work. I mean, I want to see your documentary. That looks absolutely amazing and beautiful. And it is so lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for spending your time and showing your talent and your heart with us today. We're so grateful. All right, guys, we're moving on. Music is such an essential part of any film, and those of you out who I work with me as a teacher know that I do move and groove all my videos. I think music is such an essential part. So I want to bring up Precious Perez and Arthur GWYNNE, please. I hope I said that right. Hello, Precious.
Hello. Am I seen okay?
You are.
Fantastic.
You're beautiful. So, same thing, Precious and Arthur, please give your 30-second elevator pitch, and then we'll take it from there.
Fantastic. So I'll start first. My name is Precious Perez. I'm a Hispanic woman with dark curly hair. It's in the process of being braided, so it's kind of like partially curly and mostly braided right now. And I am a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, music educator, but I also serve as vice president of RAMPed. So very excited to be here with all of you.
We're so great to have you here. Arthur, same thing, please.
Of course, thanks, Diana. My name is Arthur. I'm a big and tall white guy with way too much red hair, and I identify as neurodiverse. I am operations manager for Lachi, who is a Grammy board member. She is the founder and president of RAMPed, which is Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities, of which Precious Perez is the VP. And I've gotten to kind of learn and grow alongside Lachi as she's explored all forms of media, from both herself being a blind musician and budding actress, as well as just on the kind of advocacy side for both the music industry and for culture in general.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So do you guys have a specific presentation, or do you want to do more Q&A, or how would you like to do this?
I think we're just gonna kind of ping off of each other. I can start by giving a little overview of what RAMPed is and what that looks like in the context of the Disability Film Challenge.
Take it away.
Yeah. So RAMPed stands for Recording Artists and Music Professionals with Disabilities. And what RAMPed is we are a global network of professional disabled musicians. And our goals are to promote inclusion, elevate disability culture, and also advocate for accessibility within the music industry. And so we've been able to partner with the Grammys as their accessibility consultants, among other press features and different things like that. But it's all very exciting. But in the context of Disability Film Challenge, there are so many disabled musicians on this new website that RAMPed has. It is very sleek, it is very accessible, and also we are the hub. We're the hub for the disabled musicians in the music industry, and we're a whole database now. So this is a resource for anyone doing the challenge so that they can reach out to either local musicians or any other singer-songwriters that you might want to write for your film. So I'm going to quickly screen share. And give me 1 second because I'm making sure my voiceover doesn't start screaming at everybody. Okay, let me know if you can't see this. If you can, that's great. Okay. So I've got the RAMPed website pulled up here, www.ramped.org. And here we have our menus, about us, but the important part that you'll want to know about is search members. So if I go to search members, which I am looking for right now in our list, we are going to be able to search by category, and we can see the different men. So you can search by professions, you can search by genre, location, and disability as well. Our membership has the option to either disclose or not disclose. But if you're looking for specific things, there's all these filters available to you when you are searching our database. And then these are just some examples of the profiles you'll click on. This is Shelby. And if I click on her profile, you'll be able to kind of see how these profiles are laid out. It shows you her specialties, her disability, a nice headshot. You can request a contact. And so this is just a quick overview that I wanted to be able to present to all of you, and to let you know that there are disabled musicians, and we're very excited to work with anybody who wants to work with us. So that's kind of just a little bit about where I'm coming from. And if you yourself are also a musician that is disabled, that is involved in all of this, feel free to reach out either through ramp.org. And I'll also toss my email address in the chat if anybody has any questions about how to utilize the database or the website, or just any other questions like that. So I'm going to toss the mic over to Arthur for some more details on using music and rights and management and all that kind of jazz.
Awesome. Thank you, Precious. And God, isn't that website so beautiful and accessible? It's encourage everyone to come and check it out. Honestly, we're very proud on the accessibility measures specifically. We were calling it accessible first design. And we'd like to just learn how everyone kind of experiences that site, ways that we can improve it, or things that you enjoyed about it, anything like that. Please send that over because that's really, really valuable feedback. So as I said, my name is Arthur. I manage Lachi, and I've had the pleasure of kind of being behind the scenes and a lot of the activities that she gets up to, including some of the Easter challenges. I know she had done one. She's done a couple. I know we did last year, one with Anna Pac-Man, which I was a little bit more involved in. That was a whole lot of fun. As everyone's already said here, I think a big part of this challenge is kind of embracing the chaos Think of this more as jazz and classical music. Like you're going to be making something, you're going to be rolling with punches. We ourselves got stuck in Vegas like during the filming, and we had to figure out how to deal with being in a hotel room with none of our resources available to us, and we still ended up making something a whole lot of fun with Anna. And there's nothing better than this exercise. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the music stuff specifically, because often for filmmaking in general, music can be one of the most difficult parts to figure out. Often the direction people will end up going is either getting a composer to come in and make music specifically for the project, or they'll be doing sync work to try to take existing music and bring it in to use it, whether it's popular music or older music or what have you. For this challenge specifically, there are a lot of important considerations to take in, but one of the biggest is rights management. I believe technically by the rules of the challenge, and probably more morally for the usage of it, you shouldn't be bringing in pre-generated music. All the creative work should be done for this project, but I think this is a lot looser on the music side. There is already a fantastic resource on the Easterseals website. If you go to the rules section, they list out, and I'll share this really quick. So this is the rules page for Easterseals, and here you can see they've got a number of links already to pre-approved music that you're allowed to use. They've pre-cleared it with the artist. There are a couple RAMP members on here, which is great to see. And those that aren't RAMP members on here, hey, give Precious a call. Maybe you should be a RAMP member. But these is a great option to use if you don't even know where to start for getting a composer or dealing with music licensing. If you're not connected with an artist, you don't have the time to figure it out, use this. These are great names, great music in here. Easterseals is providing it to you as a shortcut. So you can take this music and do whatever you're going to do with it, whether it's a soundscaping or just slapping it on so there's something behind while you're talking, whatever you're going to do with it. This is extremely useful that they've provided this resource for you. But if you want to go above and beyond and make something really special, one of the best ways to do that is with original music and scoring. In order to do that, first you're going to need to connect with the musician. Hopefully you're going to be working with a musician that identifies as disabled, which again, RAMP is the best place to go to find that. But there's a couple things you need to think about with how music is going to be introduced. First and foremost, whether it's by the rules of the challenge or not, using pre-created music, like music that's already been made and especially music that's already been released, you're going to have licensing issues with that. If you're working directly with a musician, they may not actually own the rights to their own music. It might be managed by a label. It might be managed by a sync agency. The artist should know and should be very aware and keenly aware of what songs they're allowed to use or not, or to bring forward or not. But sync can be a tricky thing. And sometimes in the music world where things are a little looser with, who owns a percent of what, when it comes to a sync project for film, you need to be really careful because there might be a small sample in there, or there might be an unsigned artist or something involved in the project. So when in doubt, or if in doubt, it's better to just be making something specifically for your project. That would mean working with a composer that is going to be able to make something on the fly with the project or alongside the project. Again, as my understanding of the rules, it would need to be made in the same time frame as the rest of the project, which is that 5-day period. And you might be thinking, that's crazy. Who can possibly do that? Well, a lot of these folks can. Music is actually, the folks that make this know how to do it, know how to do it quickly. And again, if you're working with someone that is experienced with these kind of projects, the timetable shouldn't be something to stop you from at least reaching out to someone and having a conversation with them about it. It can be just as fun and challenging for a music artist to make something that will work with film and then either do the soundscaping or kind of composition direction themselves, or to be able to give music components over to a different person on your team that would do the actual music work and sound work for your project. This idea can scale. Again, if you're just kind of on your own, doing it by yourself, reaching out and working with an artist, that can just give you something that doesn't need a lot of editing and just to be playing in the background while you're speaking or acting or doing your thing. It can be that simple, or it could be something really complicated and bringing in a number of different artists to bring different components in, like having a violinist provide a violin line, and then having a pianist provide a piano line, having an actual music writer compose what those artists are doing, right? So all of this stuff can scale, and all of it is still very doable in that time frame. And I'm sure, again, with just the prestige of this project and how fun it can be, you'll find the folks that are going to be able to want to participate and volunteer their art and their time towards that end. When you're working with an artist, be aware, just as much as SAG-AFTRA has its own rules with how music works, some artists might have their own rules as well. If they're signed to a label or a production company, they may be limited in the things that they're allowed to do for free. They also might be limited in the way that their music is credited. So make sure you have all those conversations ahead of time. You'll want to consider, will the artist be allowed to take what they create for this project and turn around and turn it into something else? Will they be able to take a riff or a line that they made, and then a year down the line, maybe they want to use it in a song that they're using, or they want to use it for another project? You need to consider how those rights are going to be managed. And at the end of the day, that's going to be a direct conversation between yourself and the artist on deciding what's going to be appropriate for that. But have that conversation first. Don't make the art and then later be like, wait, what are we going to do with the rights? Like, you really need to figure that stuff out ahead of time because it's so complicated. But music industry is also music industry. Sometimes you just need a piece of paper saying, hey, I'm making this for this project and I won't use it for anything else, and both people sign it and you're good. So have those considerations in mind. From a broader perspective, so I'm very much a back of house guy, and I want to talk a little bit on the operational side of this as well. As we've already heard, some of these folks have deep knowledge and understanding. I mean, if anyone in this room followed what Cameron was talking about, then you're good to go. Like, that was really finicky information. I learned a lot, and I heard a lot of words and stuff I didn't understand, but I appreciate having that level of technical information and know-how. If you're going to be working on a project like this, you need at least one person that's going to come in and really be a veteran in something. You want someone that's going to know how these kind of things normally go. If they're not an Easterseals Disability Challenge veteran directly, someone that has some experience in film and the kind of cradle to grave production is going to be really useful to make sure that it doesn't go off the rails. If you're just doing something by yourself, that's one thing. But if you're working with a team of 3 or 4 people or more, really try to find someone that can kind of be that counterpoint and that keystone for understanding, like, hey, are we going to actually be able to take what we're talking about and do this in 5 days and have an end product that we're going to enjoy? Another thing to consider, we were recently working, and this is from Lachi, but she's going to be in a short film coming up. And one thing that we really enjoyed with that is being done by Ariel Basca, and they had introduced an accessibility check-in every day as part of the production process. And that was really useful, not only for those on the team that had a disability to be able to make sure that their accessibility needs are being met, but also communicate on a daily basis little changes, like finding out that, oh, those lights in that second room flicker really badly, someone needs to get that figured out, or hey, I'm having a good day or a bad day with my energy or anything like that. But it was also really useful for people like me. A lot of times there's not a direct accessibility need I have, but the universal design behind being able to sit down and communicate needs is really, really useful. If I'm having a bad day and need to communicate that, half the time, how am I going to even say that, right? But if you're starting the day out by everyone sharing where they're standing, what they're going to be capable of, or what they might need a little more help or assistance on, is a really useful way to keep the whole team cohesive and to make sure that everyone is as actioned and energized and ready to go as everyone else in the room so that this really difficult monumental task of making something in such a short amount of time can be done. I'll also say from a universal design standpoint, you know, really try to make, and by the way, as I'm saying this, I'm saying if you're a disabled person, advocate for what I'm saying. Make sure that your team is doing these things, right? And if you're not a disabled person and you're new to working with people with disabilities, make sure you're including these parts in your process. So this street goes both ways. You need to be able to stand up and say, hey, I think we should do this. And if you're non-disabled, making the space so that people can have this conversation. I encourage, as we're getting into team building, like it's now's the time to make your team, right? Someone had asked, hey, I've got a script, but I don't have a team. There's 80 people in this call right now that want to be a part of this. Go out and make some relationships. Start your networking. Build a team that includes people with disabilities, both in front of the camera and behind the camera. Consider other diversities. Make sure that you've got folks of BIPOC or LGBTQ or a good mix of gender identity. The more diversity you're packing into your project, the better your project is going to be. When we have that diversity of identity and diversity of self, we get that diversity of thought. And that's where like a lot of this magic comes from. And it's also a great way to make sure you're getting that cultural inclusion on how you're building out, whether it's your script, whether it's the needs that you're facing or the way that you're, even the project itself that you're working on, like what are you making it for? Who's the story for? That get answered much better as you have that fuller diversity working on the project on both ends of the coin. I know I kind of rambled a little bit and I apologize, but the last thing I wanted to kind of touch on from this kind of like, I don't want folks getting hung up on making something perfect. This is a time to experiment. This is a time to build a team with people that have never even done something like this before. This is a time to build a team. And if you haven't worked with a disabled person, work with a disabled person. If you're in a disability tight-knit community and you haven't worked with people that aren't disabled, build a team, like pull in folks that you wouldn't normally approach. That you like, if there's an artist or someone that you really enjoy talking to or working with, or you like their art and you've got a way to contact them, reach out and see if they want to do something with you. There's a lot of really cool stuff that can be done with this. And if anything else, learn some skills, learn and build this network out. And as daunting as it will be and as painful as it might be during the creation process, on the other end of it, being able to celebrate having made something and participated in this challenge and the community and fellowship that you build in that project is going to be worth more than anything else that comes out of these kind of opportunities. So take full advantage of it. So I think I probably rambled on enough, but PEREZ, was there anything else on your end that you wanted to kind of speak or share on?
I think you covered a lot of fantastic stuff. I think I would just like to reiterate, feel free to reach out and please utilize the resource that Ramped is to be able to find people to write music for your films. And we're here. And if you have any questions, you know, again, please feel free to reach out.
Okay, guys, President Arthur, thank you so much. I'd like to, we are getting close to the 1 o'clock hour, so please put any questions you have in emails or reach out to any of our panelists. President and Arthur, I'm gonna ask you to, you kind of gave them your words of wisdom for everybody before we go. President, to start with you, what are your words of wisdom?
I think my words of wisdom would be keep calm and carry on. You know, this is a lot of turnaround and a lot of, you know, it feels like I think can be pressure to get this done in time and all of that. But I would say, you know, maintain your organization and, you know, your ability to get every piece of this together and know that, you know, if you take the right preparations and the right steps, it's gonna come together great. So I think that's all I would say. You know, don't worry, be happy, as Bobby McFerrin would say.
Thank you, President. Arthur, what are your words of wisdom?
Think outside the box. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the best things about the disability community is we're problem solvers. Like we've, in each of our own ways, we've had to figure out how to do things a different way, and use that muscle. A lot of folks we've heard already from this and from other things in this challenge, they turned to this during COVID because they were stuck in a room and they didn't know what to do with themselves. And that was actually one of the best level playing fields ever for the disability community, with everyone being able to come in and participate virtually. So consider, as you're putting your team and plan together, looking outside of geographic constraints. Like, this is an opportunity to work with people at a national level. This is an opportunity to do work with folks that don't often get the opportunity to work on projects in general. Let's really reach out, and instead of finding barriers, find solutions.
I love that, you guys. And we'll bring Nick back on. We're just about at time, but Carl last, but I'm gonna give Carl a shout out anyway. Scott, Cameron, Precious, Arthur. This was amazing. This was so informative. I've learned a lot. I feel like I did have my own talk show, which was a lot of fun. But thank you so much, because you're all busy, talented, working professionals. And I so appreciate you taking time not only to share your words of wisdom and your talent and your heart here, but to be a resource for all of us as we continue. So we're gonna bring the man of the hour right here, and thank you so much, you guys. So grateful for you to be with us.
Well, I gotta say, I definitely could see you as a talk show host, and I would watch that. So how about a round of applause for Diana, Elizabeth Jordan,
Yay!
David,
I love it.
everyone at Meet the Biz Performing Arts West. This was such an amazing day to really learn about all these trades. So thank you so much to everyone from Ramped, Scott KLUMB, Carl Hansen, Cameron Mitchell. We've learned so much here. We're looking through these questions. If we didn't get to any of your questions, we're here. You can always, email me, email David or Diana, and I'll get that question. We also have questions still from yesterday, and we're planning a process to get through all of those to answer them. So thank you all so much. Step one, though, go to disabilityfilmchallenge.com if you want to take part in this. And I always say, if you register and you take that first step, you'll find other people. Put yourself out there. But there's just so much support and love in this disability community. And I'm looking around this virtual, meeting, and I just feel the love. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much to the interpreters, Angele Robertson and Hope Simon. What a joy it is to have you here and work with you, and everybody there from PASW to Livermore, and again, Nick, NOVICKI, thank you for creating this amazing masterpiece that you did and have.
It's a community effort, and I appreciate everybody here, and I can't wait to see these amazing films. Remember, it's romance, and check out that website, and any questions you have, we're here for you. But just
I'm ready for romance.
Easterseals Disability Film Challenge 10th anniversary. Write a script and produce a short film with this year's genre, romance. Win prizes. Increase your visibility. Expand your network. And attend our award ceremony. Open to filmmakers with and without disabilities who want to challenge how disabilities are viewed and inspire change. The challenge is from March 28th through April 2nd. Register before March 27th at disabilityfilmchallenge.com.
was going to ask Diana if you had words of wisdom.
Oh, I do.
Ah.
Oh, my words about, yeah, here are my, don't step outside your comfort zone, expand it. Because I really believe once we get really nervous, but once you do something you've never done before, I believe you've expanded your comfort zone. So what I would like to say to all of you is don't step outside your comfort zone, expand it.
So glad I asked.
That's gorgeous.
That's a great words of wisdom and a nice close on an amazing workshop. So